back.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jen. Hi,
You.
Sam. Missed you. And we match.
Oh, and we match.
If
Yeah.
you're on YouTube, you can see that we match colors.
Yeah.
It's very cute. We didn't
I
plan it
did
at all.
not plan that. I took a shower today, though, and I'm very proud of myself.
That's, you know what? It's the little things.
Yeah. Growing a
That's all
baby
that
is
matters.
hard, and doing these things is hard. So,
God help you. I have cats. That's
yes.
so I can hang out with your child. That's what it
Oh
is.
my God. I'm so excited. Yes.
Well, today, to continue with our spooky month, we are doing a walk in the cemetery.
Woo!
So,
Walk in the cemetery. You know what? I like walking in cemeteries. I think they're very like.
I do too. It's very peaceful.
Yes. I love it.
People can say all they want, it's morbid and whatever, but like it's very peaceful. And especially in an older type of cemetery, there's a lot of history. It's very fun.
Yes.
Like, so I think I go first. I'm not sure. I messed that up one time. I was like, I go first. And you're like, no.
I think I go first.
I think I went second.
If you want
for
to
witches.
go first, you can. I won't care.
I don't.
So you go.
I think I do, but
Go first.
okay, I'll go.
Jen's going first.
Okay. So I'm talking about Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut today.
Ooh, CT. Hey-o. We're staying home.
Yeah, we are.
I love that.
So I went into a little bit of history. So Union Cemetery has been in existence since the late 18th century. What's it called? It was originally known as the parish of North Fairfield, which was Easton, Connecticut at the time.
Cool.
And it became known as an entity by the colony of Connecticut in 1760.
Okay.
Sure.
Sounds good.
The oldest person buried there is Ebenezer Hubble.
Ebenezer.
And he is Ebenezer. And he's in now the oldest section of the cemetery, but it was said that he was one of the first people to be buried there. So it is not known when the cemetery came into existence, but it was originally referred to as the Old Cemetery and then Baptist Cemetery. Union was after the present association was incorporated in 1902. So it wasn't actually known as Union Cemetery until 1902. I didn't know that.
I don't even know, like, is this like supposed to be like a famous one? Like, I know there's like one, okay, and this is probably the one. I know there's like one really famous like haunted cemetery here in Connecticut. I bet you it's the one you're talking about.
It's this one. It's this one.
Oh my
God,
you got this.
So we'll talk about the ghosties too. But so, unlike early colonial communities, no churches in the parish had a dedicated cemetery adjacent to the church. So Union and Gilberton Cemetery were the earliest ones. So I guess that wasn't a thing at the time, which is, okay. And now it's always like you see the church, you see the cemetery next to it.
Well, there's like a difference between like a cemetery, a graveyard.
There is.
And I should have looked that up. Did you look it up?
I didn't look it up, but I know that there's a difference. I learned it.
So like a cemetery stands alone. A graveyard, I think, is what is attached to a church.
Is attached to a church.
And then what's the other one? I know a potter's field is kind of where they just throw you. Like you're too poor to really do anything, so they just dig a hole and drop you in.
They just dig a hole and drop people in, and that's terrible. But
graveyard,
yes,
churchyard.
It is, you're right. Yeah. A graveyard is the one that's attached to a church as opposed to a cemetery, which is just
there. Like it can be affiliated with the church or a specific religion.
But it's not connected directly.
Yeah, cool.
So it's a different,
You're good.
This cemetery, Union, is 5.2 acres.
Wow.
And they grew it east to west, with many of the plots going all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
In 1902, the association formed to solicitors from each of the towns, and 3 societies were appointed the initial board of trustees. So 3 people came together from the town and were like, we are
farmers
in charge of this.
Dun, 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 dun.
They were kind of forced to improve the conditions because Due to poor economic times of 1890s, the cemetery was in need of desperate repair. So they had to kind of work to do that.
Okay.
But Union Cemetery has since received no money to be put into repairs because and the record keeping has been very inconsistent. So it's not really clear. So there's actually a map. Now, I didn't post the map, but I'll kind of get into that later where the guy like drew up a whole map of like, where people are
Yeah.
located and stuff. It might not be 100% accurate because people stopped keeping records after a certain time.
That checks.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, people were originally who were part of the board,
Mm-hmm.
they were keeping records and they were doing all this stuff. They were doing the upkeep, but either they passed away or they moved away. So, beginning in the 1970s, records weren't being currently kept and or lost. So, okay.
Awesome.
Now, when Association President Joseph Silhavi,
Nailed it.
he passed in 2016. His son took over, but there's not a lot of information on how the operations were run or how the plots were being filled, what was being done to repair certain stones, all that. So the last known surveying plot, so the last known map was 1972.
Okay.
But again, graves have been dug since that time because people are still buried in Union Cemetery. So it might not be 100% accurate. And a lot of people have said it is a little difficult to navigate. So the cemetery also never sought town funding. And I didn't really understand this, but it said it's not likely to qualify. I guess I don't know how you qualify for town funding. You would think a cemetery would be something that would, but
Well,
I didn't.
again, most cemeteries or like consecrated land like that is affiliated to a church. And if you think about the
Right.
separation of church and state,
Church and
then
state.
why
You're
would
right.
a
That makes sense
cemetery
now.
qualify in the long run?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
again, because a
yeah.
lot of them
And
have a religious affiliation. Like, there are Jewish cemeteries and Catholic cemeteries and Presbyterian and like, some are just you have to be
true.
Christian, some are just but I would think
Right.
that whether it's a religious one or not, like that's probably why because of that affiliation. I could be wrong.
You know
I'm
what? That makes
grasping at
sense.
straws.
Honestly, that kind of makes sense to me. I didn't really look into it more, but I was like, okay, maybe I don't know, but like that makes sense. Like it's but since the 70s, there have been attempts to help with the repairs. So there is such a thing as adopt a headstone, and that was started
Ooh.
where you can donate any amount of money, and the money goes to conserving the monuments and that type of stuff. So yeah,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
neat.
Let's adopt
I looked on
one.
there. You could. I don't know if you get to pick though, because I was looking at the historical society website and it was like this one's adopted, and I'm like, does that mean I get to choose who I adopt or?
Okay, listeners, if you join our Patreon, we will have money
We
and we could
could
adopt uh,
a
a
headstone, a
headstone,
person. I don't know.
a spirit, a something, and we'll all kind of own part of it. I think that's how we can play this. So if you want to help us
Yeah,
and you want to own part, like probably a little bit of dust or pebble that is now going to be kept as a headstone, join our
yeah.
Patreon so we can do this. Thank you for coming
So
to
we can
my
do
TED
that.
my
And I
TED
mean, it
talk.
helps the cemetery and the repairs and stuff. And it's cool. It's like, oh, you adopted a headstone. So we could go visit.
Yeah, oh
We
my
can leave
god.
flowers at the
We could be
cemetery.
like Kramer and make it like, bigger grave sites for all and move everybody
Yeah,
around and like we could do that. What was that on
we
Seinfeld
could
where
do
he
that.
adopted part of the highway and he like bigger lanes for everybody. Like we could do that, but with like headstones and shit. We'll just move people
Yeah, that
around
would be
with them in
fun.
alphabetical order because my OCD would die.
So now this is the reason why Union Cemetery is very famous. It is to be considered one of the most haunted cemeteries in the
Oh
world,
shit.
not just in the United States.
Oh shit.
So, to the point where Ed and Lorraine Warren
Get out.
did an investigation.
I'm shocked.
They compiled a book of their findings called Graveyard: True Hauntings from an Old New England Cemetery. And again, they staked it out for, I'm assuming, a few nights, but
We can only
there are
hope.
two major stories that pop up every time someone thinks of Union. So I'm going to go with the first one, which is the red eyes.
Yup.
This is said that they peer at people from the bushes. Now it's obviously cemeteries are closed at night. They close off. So I'm assuming this is during the day. You see the red eyes. People report that there's a hot breath on the back of their neck. And when they turn around, they see the red eyes staring at them.
I don't like it.
From this bush.
From a bush?
Yes.
Ew.
Yeah, because it's like,
hello. Peekaboo.
Like hiding. And some people have reported to be chased.
Ew.
I don't know, by the eyes or by a figure. It wasn't clear. It said chased. But I'm assuming by a figure with red eyes, but I'm just thinking the red eyes were in the bush.
Yeah, I would run away from red eyes. Not gonna lie to you.
I'd
be like,
I wouldn't look to see if it was chasing me either. So.
Yeah, I would just be like, okay, I'm leaving now. Bye. Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye.
They believe that this is the ghost of Earl Kellogg, a man who was set on fire and burned to death across the street from the cemetery in 1935.
Did he have red eyes? Like, are they red because of the fire?
It's just like, I guess.
I don't love that.
But yeah, Earl is buried in this cemetery, but I guess they're thinking, oh, this is the ghost of Earl.
Earl had
like
to
the
die.
Dixie Chicks.
Yes.
Like now they're just the chicks, but it's the, the chicks.
Yeah.
Earl.
I found him.
Oh my God, I love it. That literally would be me and Sam. If you're too young for that, go look up that song.
Yeah. Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
So the most famous is the Lady in White.
There it is. Okay. So, I know what we're talking about.
Yes. It's said that the lady can be the ghost of a woman who died in childbirth and is searching for her baby. So, okay. So if this is true, it could be Harriet R. Seeley, who was buried and died in childbirth. So,
okay.
Or this is even crazier. It could be another Harriet Bryan, who also died during childbirth.
What's with the name Harriet?
Isn't it crazy? Right? It's a very, I didn't think Harriet was I guess this is like,
when was this? Like the 20s?
I guess this was like
18. Oh, yeah, shit.
I'm thinking like 18, 19, but still like Harriet, I don't know. Maybe it was a popular name.
Rodney and Harry.
It's like in what's it called? Hercules, where he's like, when all the kids were named Jason and all the girls were named Brittany? That's kind of oh my God. That's like that's like all the girls were named Harriet, I guess.
I mean, yeah.
It just was crazy to me that they were like, oh, it's definitely Harriet Seeley, but it could be this other Harriet.
And they both died during childbirth.
Which is nuts. Oh. Now, other people suggest this woman could be a victim of murder. So she was murdered. She was kind of thrown across the street from the cemetery, and her ghost is just kind of there. It's not really clear who she is. They think it's one of the Harriets.
Okay.
That's their. Again, I didn't read the Warrens book, but they might have a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't always know how I feel about them, so it's fine. I'm gonna cover that one day, like just them, and how like
just the Warren.
They're problematic in quite a few ways.
So, and that's the thing. Like we talked about this on Patreon one time, where Sam was kind of like, "This is why they're problematic," and I think that's also the reason why sometimes they say things and you're like, could be, or
it might not be.
Because then Zach Baggins comes in.
Oh my God.
And it's different,
Zach Baggins. Fuck everyone up.
He probably did come to Easton Cemetery. I didn't.
No, the only place he's been in Connecticut was the old gun place. What was that? Not Winchester. No, the other one. In Bridgeport. What was the one in Bridgeport?
Oh, I don't.
Ask Dave.
I don't remember.
Fuck. Shit. It was the other one. Okay,
Uh,
keep talking. I'm gonna Google it.
okay.
I'm gonna randomly
So
scream out a gun name in like 30
the
seconds. Hold up.
the lady in white is said to wear again a white nightgown, and her face is usually covered by a white bonnet. So as she walks through the cemetery, or sometimes floats through, as people have described.
Okay.
So this is the most infamous story that I thought was batshit crazy that I needed to
I'm so
share.
ready.
So an off-duty firefighter and police officer were driving along the cemetery road
Okay.
because there happened to be an accident a couple of streets over, and they were trying to create a detour to divert the traffic. So they were kind of just driving around trying to look for where can we push all this traffic.
Okay.
Um, Police officer was in the passenger seat, and the what's it called? The firefighter was driving like a F Ford 150 truck, so huge,
Okay. Yeah.
huge
Big
freaking
truck.
truck.
Big truck.
And there happened to be somebody, like a woman, tailgating behind them. Now I don't know because they didn't explain it, and I didn't look into it. Sorry, but if she was with them, if she was just kind of driving behind them, it was unclear. So they were driving at night, and at one point, a woman in long brown hair, who has had long brown hair, wearing a Victorian nightgown, appeared in the road. So she was just walking.
Ew.
Despite the police officer being like, "Holy shit, watch out," and him slamming on the brakes, he still hit her.
Oh my God.
So, quote, "When I hit her, it was like hitting a brick wall. The whole back end of the truck went straight up in the air." So this was like, you fucking hit something.
Woof.
And the policeman was thrown like into the dashboard, not through it, but like into, to the point where there's a big impact. So the
Okay.
woman came,
It's a human. Like, we're assuming right now it's a human. I know you're going to give me a
yes,
twist. But, like,
yeah,
wouldn't the human go flying and not the car have such an impact? Like, it's
well,
not a
she did.
moosin.
No, that's the thing. It's not like, and she's not a large, they didn't describe her as a large woman.
Okay.
Because in fact, she was like very petite, but the woman did go over the hood of the car and straight down. So they're like, oh shit, she's behind us. So the driver behind them and both men jumped out of the car to help. The three of them searched. There was no woman, no blood, no clothing, but there was a dent in front on his truck.
Get the fuck out of here. What?
Yeah.
What?
So yeah.
Wait, what?
Isn't that crazy?
No, that didn't happen. How did that happen?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because they looked and they were like, "Holy fuck!" They're looking everywhere. There's no sign
Were
of
they
anything. But
fucking
he's like, "I
around and
fucking hit her."
dented the car and then came up with this crazy story to get out of
See,
being in trouble for
that's what
denting the
I
car?
was.
Like, were they playing tag with the cop cars
Could
and
be.
shit and doing dumb things and
It
then
could
went,
be.
oops, I hit a mailbox or I hit a
It could
garbage
be.
can?
But when you,
What?
but when you look at, that's the thing. When you look at this cemetery and the story, when you look at like Lady in White, people will always show pictures of her in the daylight, at nighttime, in this whatever, this form. But this is the story that people tell, because to this day the guy's like, I don't know what the fuck happened.
There are pictures.
Now you're right. Could it be that they were like, oh fuck, we hit the wall, well, let's just fuck around because we were right outside the
Oh yeah,
cemetery?
definitely the
Or
woman in
could it be
white.
something different? Yeah.
Oh my god, will you
So that
that kind of remind me?
is Union Cemetery.
Holy shit, that made me think of fucking what's that? What's that movie? The girl who crawls out of the TV and like has the dark hair and the
Oh,
white
the
dress.
ring.
Yes. And she's like,
Uh-huh. That's exact.
like or whatever she does.
You watch the film and then you're like, you have 7 days, and then you die in 7 days.
Ew.
But that's but like, again, I didn't really look up like picture evidence, or or anything like that. People have said to have caught her on camera. Again, the Warrens did a whole book about this one particular cemetery where they caught more than the lady in white. But this is one of the most haunted cemeteries apparently in the
Oh my God, we
world,
have to go there.
according to Travel
When are
Channel.
we going? Can we go there?
You know what?
You
It's
know what?
really like a kind of a
How far is it? Where
middle.
is it?
It's Easton, so it's kind of in the middle, so we're not like
Like in the
we
middle of
can
the
meet up
state or
there.
in the middle of us?
I think it's in the well, I think it's in the it's on if you're not it's not in the smack dab middle of the state, but I think it's like towards the middle. It's towards like, the nicey like suburban type of area, woodsy,
Oh.
not really land. It's kind of landlocked. It's not on
Oh, we got to
the
take one of
shore
those.
side.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess we'll have to
So,
go there and
but
bring
I
all of
mean,
our
we're in
stuff.
Connecticut, might as
I
well.
mean, yeah, we're there. And next month, when I'm not allowed to really travel all that far and I can only waddle, it would be great to just go walk around the cemetery for like 20 minutes and see what's
Yeah,
up.
I mean,
Okay.
it is a beautiful it is really cool looking. So, I will say that.
Okay. I wrote down Remington. Oh, the gun! The gun
The
thing! The
gun.
gun thing! There you go. Bridgeport, Remington. That's where they went. Oh,
Oh,
did they
okay.
go to Captain
All
Grant's? No, that was that other thing. That other Netflix special that went to Captain Grant's in. But with the Sean
Yeah, someone
Astin,
went.
is that not Astin?
Yes, it's that one. They went
They
to
went to
a
that
house
one.
in Connecticut,
Yeah.
but they didn't go to like I'm surprised that Zach Baggins hasn't gone to Union Cemetery,
He
but
really doesn't come like around here all that often anymore.
no. Which you know what? Fine.
No, I want to meet
I see how it
him.
is.
I would totally fangirl.
Yeah, I'd be like, be on our podcast.
Like, I'm Zach Bacon.
Do a live.
I'm
Do a
Sam
live
Downing.
Patreon.
I make fun of you all the time.
Sorry, we're actually fans. We
I
just
promise you
we're
I
just
love you,
assholes to it.
and I'm just a real bitch. Anyway,
It's fine.
so I'm actually covering somewhere today that Zach Bagel Bites has been to, but like they didn't investigate it, but they were there.
They were there.
This is also known as one of the world's most haunted graveyards. So
I think they need to
we need to have like a scale, like an actual what are those, a rubric, isn't that what they're called, like a rubric where like
yes,
if you do this and this
on
with
a scale
this and then it's like a 7 on the holy shitometer,
right?
Like we need that. I think we should like commandeer this. Let's pioneer. We're gonna come up with this.
We'll make a haunted place rubric.
Yes Let's do that. Riggs, it's fine. Dad's home. Come lay down. So fun. Anyway, so now our sound tech isn't getting involved as well with everything. So good. Love that. All right, so I'm covering Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Huh. And that sounds fun.
Oh.
And spooky.
Oh, this place is like hella haunted and hella like history-wise, like very famous for lots and lots of reasons that we're going to get into right now. So, so everybody knows kirkyard is basically the old Scottish word for graveyard. Fun fact. So Greyfriars Kirkyard is located in Old Town Edinburgh, and the graveyard gets its name from the Franciscan friary that once owned the site. And the friars wore gray habits, so that's why there are Greyfriars. We're original. Oh. We're so original here. But that friary dissolved in 1560. Friary. Friar.
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
Like friar. This is where we would have made all the candles, basically. We would have gotten the fat fuck friars, boiled them down, and made our candles for that satanic asshole back in the day. There you go. Full circle. I mean, welcome to Death Before Booze. Go listen to that episode. Don't ask me which one it was. It was like 4 or 5 ago.
Oh my God. It was definitely a chick's pick because I was like, this fucking guy.
This guy. Hold my beer. I told a story and Chen went, hold my fucking beer. Okay. But anyway, the churchyard was founded in August of 1562, so it's old as fuck, after royal sanctions were granted to replace the churchyard at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. So they needed a new place. The other one got full. Shit was going down. We got a new one. So this graveyard is over 400 years old. There are over 700 gravestones, and it has become the resting place for over 100,000 bodies. Now, the reason that there's like so many extra, I'm going to get to a little bit more, but there are also like kind of little tombs and mausoleums that hold multiple people in them. So that's one thing.
Gotcha.
Many of the tombs and gravestones in Greyfriars Kirkyard, and I'm including this on the blog, they feature skulls and dancing skeletons. And it's like an amazing motif. Like, you want to talk morbid? I love this. This is how my house should be. I feel this is my aesthetic. Like, put me in the graveyard. I love this shit. But it's known as memento mori, which in Latin means remember you will die. Like, it's all that, like, you know, you're living now, but at some point you're going to die. Like, keep this in mind. You're going
to die.
There are also hourglasses and wilting flowers. And again, this is not to be like morbid. It's more of that philosophicalness of, you know, you have to remind the people who are still living that life is fleeting and that worldly vanities are not important. If worldly vanities are not important, then why the fuck did you just deck my fucking gravestone out? Like,
you know what though? Like,
tell me without
carvings
me.
Are very cool. They're very intricate. Yes. Like, there's a whole bunch at Salem that have the hourglass, the skeletons. It has just a skeleton with the wings.
Yep.
Like, you know, there's so many intricate designs, and it's very neat.
And it's all sitting there to tell you not to worry about the vanities of life because you're all going to die.
Right.
But look at all this money I just spent on my fucking headstone for this beautiful, intricate design. But this is the last thing my money could pay for because then all my kids took it, I guess. I don't know. So you'll also see when going through this graveyard is a lot of the tombs, like a lot of the actual like grave sites, like actual like like you dug in the ground, not the tombs on the sides, but like the ones that are like dug in the ground. There are metal rods over them.
Yeah.
This is not because, you know, they were afraid of zombies or vampires or anything like that. This was because grave robbing was hella in like the 1800s when everybody needed skeletons and medical things, and you know, they were doing their whole thing at the medical schools and they were stealing bodies. So to stop grave robbing, they basically put like cell doors over.
Yeah.
Like they built little like rod things so you couldn't steal like your loved one's body. It was crazy.
Could you imagine if like in today's era, like we were like do that? Could you like a modern cemetery has like the bars over, you'd be like, the fuck?
I'd be like, I'll take like, two. I love that.
Put it over my
little S&M on my grave site.
Because a lot of people do think it's like, oh, if they come back to life. No.
It's so that like assholes don't come. They also have the bell.
Body. They used to have the bell thing.
Oh yeah, like for the night shift, the graveyard shift. Yeah, that's my favorite part with the little bell. I feel like I just talked about this with somebody. I don't know who. Was it you? But like,
at some point we probably mentioned the little bell.
I mean, with the little bell, like, even if
you're buried
first
alive,
off, as you're dying, like back then you like died, right? And they put you in the ground relatively quickly if it was like warm enough, because you'd start to stink and you'd start to decompose, and nobody wants to deal with that. Like, you smell like a dead body. Like, nobody wants that.
Nobody wants.
So they put you in your coffin and they put you down, and then they would take this little like string and they tie it to your pinky, so that way in case you really weren't dead, they would take that string, tie it to your pinky, and then tie it to a bell that was attached to your gravestone. And then there would be somebody who worked the graveyard shift in the graveyard, and they would listen at night to see if the bell would ring. But like, as you're dead and like, you know, your body is like completely dying, like it moves. Like your body moves. So there are times where the bells would ring and like you're actually dead. And the very few times that it was an actual human, like, oh my God, get me out of here, I want to live. By the time the graveyard guy like got enough people over to you to dig you out, you had suffocated anyway. So there was no point. Like, they'd get you. They'd be like, okay, we got him. And there'd be like claw marks and their fingers would be all bloody and they'd be like legit dead. So what was the point?
It's
history. The more you know.
Yeah. And this sounds familiar to me because for this month on our Patreon, we're doing graveyard chats of spooky stories. And one of mine has to do with this type of a thing. So I'm like, oh, that's right.
Oh my God.
I already researched this.
Yeah,
twice.
it's nuts. It's nutty.
It's fun.
Okay, so my last like weird fact about this cemetery is that it's just steps away from the Elephant House Cafe, where a certain problematic writer spent many hours putting together the Harry Potter series. There are at least
I was like, why?
5 names used throughout the Harry Potter series that were taken from graves in Greyfriars Kirkyard. And like the main ones that you like, I put pictures up were Thomas Riddle and William McGonagall. So like people will go there now and like put things at the graves. For
that's interesting.
Yeah, in like they go in. There's like a whole tour you can take of this graveyard just about Harry Potter now. It's like kind of nuts.
Very cool.
So some other notable things about Greyfriars Kirkyard. We're going to talk about Greyfriars Bobby, who was a Skye Terrier, little puppy. He lived from May of 1855 to January of 1872. Wow. And the best, like the most talked about story, like what is that? Like the version of this story that we hear the most.
Okay, there most we go. Widely
there
known.
You go.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Being pregnant's hard. So the most widely known version is that Bobby belonged to John Gray, and John Gray worked for the city police of Edinburgh as a night watchman. Well, Gary died and was buried in Greyfriars. So Bobby would go, like he'd go home at night, and then every day he would make his way down to the cemetery and just sit and relax on his master's grave all day long. And then he would go back home at night. And every day people would see this, this cute little Yorkie type dog sitting and hanging out in the graveyard.
I love that.
So because Bobby had become so like well known locally, when Bobby died, they built him a little shrine. So they say he's buried in the cemetery as well. Unfortunately, that's probably not true because it's consecrated ground, which means it's like holy ground, like it's been blessed. So animals cannot be buried in consecrated ground. So they do have a statue.
Why the fuck not?
I don't know.
You know what?
Make up the rule.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry. I'm just mad.
I know. I would be too. So there's a statue for Bobby, and at the bottom of the statue, they have like a running fountain for other animals that come in so they can get fresh water. And
I love it.
Yeah. And then it's probably that Bobby was born just outside of the main entrance under this really nice tree that he used to kind of hang out by too, because he could still see his owner's gravestone from there. So like he'd kind of like get bored and go hang out over there and then go back to the gravestone. But
I love it.
Maybe at his memorial in the graveyard, people come and bring sticks and balls and dog toys and like treats, and they leave them there for him. Cute. So that's really cute.
That's adorable. I love it.
One of the main monuments that is in the Kirkyard is called the Martyrs Monument. So this commemorates the executed Covenanters. This is a fun story, and I really dumbed it down because it took me like forever to understand like what the fuck happened. So I dumbed it down. So this is like not in any way, shape, or form like a good, like don't use this summary as like your report.
Go-to.
Remember when we talked about Wikipedia? That's pretty much what Sam did, and then like rephrased it to a point that Sam could understand. Just so we're all on the same page.
It's fair.
So the covenanting movement began with the signing of the national covenant in Greyfriars Kirk on the 28th of February in 1638. So a lot of things, and this was another like random history fact that I know. It's stupid. A lot of times covenants or major documents like to agree to something or end a war or do whatever was done in a cemetery because it was considered public land. Anybody could go there, anybody could be in there. It was kind of a neutral space. A lot of times they were like graveyards were, you know, exempt from battlefields and stuff. Like they tried to like stay away from them and like honor the dead in a sense. So a lot of major treaties and documents were signed in graveyards. This was just a thing. I didn't come up with it. It just is what it is. So this covenant thing, basically, King Charles of Scotland made some shitty rules that they were going to go away from the Church of Scotland, which was basically Presbyterian, and everybody was going to be Anglican now. So the Covenanters, who were the Presbyterians, thought this was a shitty rule, and they wanted to stick with the Church of Scotland. So they revolted. About 1,200 people, maybe a little bit more, threw a fit. So King Charles appointed this dude, Sir George Mackenzie, to end the revolt and persecute the Covenanters. Like, go fuck them up. Like, go get them. So the Covenanters were defeated at Botham Bridge in 1679, and whoever they could get, so 1,200 of, you know, who they could get, were imprisoned in a field adjacent to Greyfriars Kirkyard. So it's still part of the cemetery now. But they like took a field that wasn't a graveyard yet, threw all 1,200 people over there. They called it the Covenanters' Prison, and they left them there 4 months. No food, no shelter, no water, no nothing. They would beat them. They would like torture them. Some of them they executed. Like it wasn't good. It wasn't great. It wasn't. It's bad. It was just all fucking bad.
Yeah, no, it's not good. It's not good.
They had terrible treatment and conditions, and then the last of them who weren't, you know, executed or died from the elements or died from malnourishment or, you know, tried to eat each other, like all that stuff. Whoever was left, they finally cleaned out the prison in 1679 when they transported whoever was left to the colonies. Okay, that was like another big thing. You get exiled to the colonies, and the US was the colonies, or Australia, just so y'all know. So that's how all that finally ended. They were like, all right,
get out.
The 70 of you that are left, you're not my problem anymore. Just go.
Just go over there and figure it out.
So now,
I like that.
We're done with you. Bye.
I love it.
So now Sir George Mackenzie, we're going to talk a little bit more about him. He was Sir George Mackenzie of Rose Hall, Haugh, Rose Hall, whatever. He was a Scottish lawyer, Lord Advocate, essayist, and legal writer. And he was nicknamed Bloody Mackenzie because of how great and nicely he treated all these poor Covenanters when they were stuck in prison.
Yes.
You know, he really took care of them. He really gave a shit, as you can tell. So again, some were executed, some died of maltreatment. His cruel treatment of the Covenanters gained him the nickname Bloody Mackenzie. So in 2003, he's got a very distinct tomb, and it has a black dome on top. You know, he had money, so when he died, we were decking shit out.
Interesting.
This is fun. In 2003, 2 teenage boys broke into his tomb with the black dome. They were 17 and 15, the 2 kids. And they like broke in through a ventilation slot in the back of it. I don't really I don't know. But after this happened, they sealed that bitch up. Like, you can't do it now. People have tried. You can't get in there now. They reached the lower vault of this tomb, the part that has like the coffins and all that. They broke open the coffin and stole Bloody Mackenzie's skull. So as this is going on, a ghost tour that's going through the cemetery is like, the fuck's up with this? What's going on over here? You know, like they hear them, they see them, they do all this. So they call the police. The police show up, and these two teens are playing football with the skull in the graveyard. Super cute. Super cute. I love that. I love this.
Why this particular one?
Why not this one? This is the one we could get in, and he's like the most infamous asshole in this whole fucking place.
It's such a weird thing. Like, as a kid, I would not be like, hey, you know what would be really fun?
You know what I
just
can't
bust
wait
into
to
someone's
do?
grave
Like, let's go
and
get
like
a
play
skull
football
and
with a
play
skull.
football. I mean, I've been seeing this meme quite often that, you know, plastic skeletons are really bad for the environment, so you should really go all natural and just dig up a grave. So I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to like having a skull, but I don't think this is the best way to go about it. I feel that there are better ways.
Oh my god.
Anyway, it's just the pair narrowly escaped imprisonment on a little used but still existent charge of violating spectros, which I guess is like the tombs. Like,
I guess
there's also, this is fun. So there's this thing, it's called a bothy in Scotland, which is basically a watchtower for the rest of the world. Okay. And it's right at the main entrance.
Okay.
And it's owned by City of the Dead Tours. So City of the Dead Tours is one of, I think, 2 companies that is sanctioned to give ghost tours in Greyfriars Kirkyard. Kirkland, like we're fucking at Costco.
Costco.
So this bothy houses the City of the Dead's Tours collection of haunted dolls. Now,
of course they
do. Of course they do. So there's actually a notice on the building that says, oh, and did we mention about our haunted and cursed doll collection we have inside here? Like, what?
By the way, we just have this.
So there's a Zoom recording of like an introduction to all of these dolls. I didn't watch it because I did not. By the time I figured this out and what the fuck was going on, I had like an hour and I was like, okay, can't do that. But the description of this Zoom recording is Dr. Louis Fenton introduces the collection of dolls that resides within a cabinet in Greyfriars Bothy and tells some of their stories, from dolls that are believed to harm people, are haunted, and that set fires with the oldest dating back to the 19th century.
Great.
So now let's throw a whole bunch of haunted demonic dolls in at a haunted cemetery and just say, let's fucking go.
I'm here for it. There it is.
So glad you are. So let's start talking ghosts, because I haven't even gotten there yet. We're going to start with the least intimidating spirit who roams around the grounds, and that's our little furry friend, Bobby.
The popper.
So there have been multiple reports, some as early as like this week, okay, from people reportedly hearing disembodied barking. Some swear they see a small ghostly dog running through the churchyard. They'll hear dogs panting. They'll feel something like rub past them, like through, especially like between the main entrance and his owner's his owner's thing. And I'm okay with that one. Like, that ghosty can stay forever. And I think it's super cute. Like, I love animal ghosts. I'm convinced that there's like 2 orange ghosts that live in my house from like the previous owner. Really? Yeah, every so often. This is probably more of a Patreon story, but every so often, like at night, if I have the basement door open, like out of the corner of my eye, I'll see like an orange cattail like flick and go around the corner into the dining room. It's super cute. And I'm like, every so often you can hear like weird purring, or like you'll hear like,
oh, I love it.
You know how like if you have a cat, you know this sound, like where they jump down and they land and they sit. Like you'll hear that sometimes throughout my house too, like randomly. And it's like Riggs is in the other room. Like you'll hear like little paws, and it's like not Riggs because he's not by me. Like he's upstairs and I'm downstairs. And so I don't know what her cat's names were. I mean, Jane comes here every so often too. But like when her cats show up, I'm like, I'm so allergic to you, so I'm glad you can hang out now that you're dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually have 2 orange cats that live in my house, even though I'm allergic to them.
I love it.
Okay. So then, and I'm sure you guessed it, we're going to talk about our other horrible friend, Bloody Mackenzie.
Mm-hmm.
So over 350 people have claimed to have been attacked by Mackenzie's spirit since the late 90s.
Good. That's great.
This is considered poltergeist activity, and it seems to have stemmed from an event in 1998 where a homeless man was trying to take cover from bad weather. So he went into the cemetery, he could get into this tomb, and he was just trying to, get out of the storm.
Yeah.
So he went down to the lower chamber where the coffins were, and he tried to get into one of the coffins. Like, I guess he was cold and thought it would be warmer in here.
Okay.
Well, as he's trying to fight with the coffin and get in, the floor underneath the tomb collapses, and he ends up in an ancient plague pit below. Now, if you don't know what a plague pit is, it's basically a huge hole that was dug during the bubonic plague. So like back in the day. And they would, drop the bodies of people who had suffered and died from the plague. And then they would cover them up in hopes that, it would, by burying the body, the disease wouldn't spread anymore. The infection wouldn't spread. So whatever happens, the floor gives way. He ends up in this plague pit and freaks the fuck out. So paranormal experts suspect that this disruption of not only the tomb, but the plague pit is what initiated all the poltergeist activity. So a lot of people definitely feel that it is Bloody Mackenzie, but the actual negative of it could also be coming from the plague pit. So again, some 350 people have claimed to have been scratched, bruised, pushed, or even beaten. One human left the graveyard with a broken bone and had to be escorted out via ambulance.
What the fuck?
And this is all while viewing the tomb. Some have gotten sick in the vicinity of not only the tomb, but also the prison, because, he was always over there torturing people and fucking with them.
Mm-hmm.
In 2006, the Scotsman wrote that there had been over 450 documented attacks and 140 people who had absolutely collapsed between viewing the tomb or walking through or around the prison, the part of the graveyard that was the prison. And now, like I said before, you can only get into the graveyard with certain sanctioned tours at night, and only 2 have permission to take you through the Covenanters prison at night. Like, they need to be approved. They need to be vetted. Like, there's a whole process they had to go through to get approval to go in here. So after all these people are getting attacked and everybody's bitching and moaning about this poltergeist bullshit, an exorcist named Colin Grant was brought in to deal with the poltergeist. He got there, felt the bad vibes, said, fuck this, and left the site immediately. He then died of a heart attack exactly 2 weeks later.
I mean, that's a good sign. These are good signs.
I mean, yeah, I can't wait to go. So the attacks escalated to a point where the city of Edinburgh closed off Covenanters prison from the public. And now you can only visit it, like I said, with those 2 tour companies that are now approved vendors. Each touring company that has permission to enter the Covenanters prison have a warning. And it's, quote, the Mackenzie poltergeist can cause genuine physical and mental distress. Join the tour at your own risk. Wow. And that is Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Wow. That's intense. That would be maybe one ghost tour I would not.
Oh, I'm fucking going. Give me my waiver. I'm signing it. Let's go. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. I'm not going in the plague pit, but I will definitely hang out and play.
Well, What did we learn?
I
learned
learned. Oh, you can go first. What did you learn?
not to bust into people's
Oh
graves.
no, that's what
Period.
I learned.
Oh, well, you know what? That's a good lesson
Okay.
all around. Like, let's not bust into people's graves because you could either end up in a plague pit or you're playing football with a skull.
Oh my god, could
So,
you
like,
imagine? Like, I'm just walking around on this hollowed ground and like it's fucking a million years old, and then whoop, plague pit. I mean, that's like a new fear
Jesus
unlocked. Remember when we were kids
Christ.
and
Yeah,
you were
right?
terrified of like quicksand? Like that was like going to be like a
Yeah.
huge deal in our lives.
Uh-huh.
Now, if
And
you're in Edinburgh, like
it's the
a
plague
plague
pit.
pit is a
Mhm.
legit fear.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have that problem
Yeah.
here. We just have to worry about Native American burial grounds all over the place.
I mean,
That's our big issue here in New
that's
England.
our issue.
But I mean, if you're over in Edinburgh, watch out because plague pit.
Jesus. Plague pit.
Ayo.
Surprise.
All right. Wow.
Oh my god.
Wow. What an episode. Yeah, don't fuck around in graveyards. Like just be nice.
No. Just walk, have a calm, tranquil mindset and you'll be fine.
If you go with your girlfriend, you get to talk shit around the dead and they can't tell your secrets. So that's always fun.
That is true.
I mean,
That is
nobody's going to
true.
hear
We
you
did
in a
that.
graveyard. Yeah, we do that.
We did that.
That's like one of my favorite memories. So,
Yeah.
wow, thanks for listening. Make sure that you are following all of our social media where we give you all of our updates. Like, review, subscribe, and if you're on YouTube, click the bell so you know when a new thing comes out. All of our pictures and our sources that we reference are on our blog at deathbeforebooze.com. While you're over there, stop on our merch site, check it out, buy a t-shirt, buy a coffee mug, whatever you want, and then head over to Patreon and join. It's like $5 a month is our lowest tier. I think the highest one is like 10, like it's nothing crazy. And then when you join Patreon, we can sponsor one of the headstones up at the Union Cemetery here in Connecticut. And then we'll all own a cemetery. How cool. I don't think that's how that works, but it's going to work.
It's gonna
bigger
work.
grave sites for
We'll
everyone. Like we are on board.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Make sure you email and talk to us because we love hearing from you and we love you so much. Goodbye.
Yeah. Love you guys. Stay spooky.
Bye.